Good evening, welcome back. It is Friday, September 22nd, 2023. Got about a week left in this month, then we'll be in the 10th month of the year. Can't believe it's going by so fast. Got a handful of birthdays and only a couple of events to talk about today. So let's start off in 1990 at Martinsville in the Busch Series. Jeff Burton won his first career Busch Series race, the ZREX 150. And you think about how long of a timeline ago that was. It's 33 years ago. And, the Busch Series was in a transition because you had drivers like Sam Ard, who had been injured, and Jack Ingram, who was starting to become less competitive because of bigger teams coming in and moving to the bigger tracks, and Jack was a short track guy. Larry Pearson had already moved to the Cup Series, and their team had run out of money. Dale Jarrett had moved to the Cup Series, replacing an injured Neil Bonnet. So there was a lot of your solid regular Busch Series drivers at this time had either moved up or moved on. So it was kind of a transitional period. And Jeff Burton was one of the many new winners that we got during this era. And, of course, he went on to have what I will call it a borderline Hall of Fame career. No titles, but he's got a lot of wins in the Cup Series and in the Busch Series, of course. And then 1991 at Martinsville, on this day, Harry Gant won his fourth straight, he tied a modern era record. And about halfway through, he wasn't going to win. Got in an accident, damaged his right front pretty badly. And they ended up making repairs, and then he ended up getting the lead with about 50, 60 laps to go. And to be honest, the car had right front damage, but it's believed because of that damage, he was able to keep the brakes cooler and the tires cooler on the front. And in the end, that may or may not have been an advantage. But nonetheless, Harry wins 4 straight races. So let's go ahead and hop to our birthdays real quick. Born on this day in 1994, part-time Xfinity Series driver Chad Fincham. Got to meet him at the track a few years ago. Didn't know who he was, and went through the autograph line that they had, youth wristband, and he was one of them. He just had some hero cards and signed them. And then I was down in the pits later and got to meet his parents and was talking with them. Really, really nice people. Would really like to see him get a good opportunity. I think he could be a pretty good driver. Born on this day in 1954. We get it. We've had a lot of controversial figures recently, and similar to Gary Blue and some of the others. Born on this day in 1954, Mr. Randy Lanier. He's another one that you need to find a couple podcasts and listen to his story, because he's got a pretty cool story. Born on this day in 1947, a Cup driver many of you may have never heard of. He only ran 20 races in 1987, but I put him on here because he is an Indiana guy, Mr. Steve Christman. He drove the Winkle Racing Pontiac number 62 that had some sort of funding from AC Sparkplug. Had a best finish of 11th in the fall Richmond race that year, and that was the only 20 races that he ever ran. Let's see here, do I have all the cardless ones? We do, so let's go to some cards. Another person born on this day in 1954. Kind of was a crew chief that bounced around a little bit between the Busch Series and the Cup Series, with moderate success, more so in the Busch Series, Mr. Marc Reno. And here you see he's with Ernie Irvan, and I think he may have been Kenny Irwin's crew chief for a little bit, but he did a lot of good things with, I want to say James Finch and that team, and then even had his own Cup team briefly. I believe he was the one that Ernie Irvan made his debut for in 1987, the 56 car. Born on this date in 1988, ran a couple seasons in truck back in the mid to late 2000s. Road racing driver Colin Braun. Now it looks like it's spelled Braun, but it's pronounced Brown. Colin Braun. So had that Conway Freight sponsorship. I'm not sure if that was something that he had from the world of road racing. But it was a nice looking truck, and he was always competitive. Of course, it was a Roush truck at the time. Always like these battle scars, so that was a hard hit, but That's what the truck looked like, sans the damage. And our final birthday, definitely Hall of Famer, born on this date in 1934, Mr. Leonard Wood. Now, just about all these, and I got thinking about this when I was going through these cards. I was like, man, every single one of them, he's got a Citgo outfit on, or he's got Citgo logos. Then it dawned on me, from 1987 till 2000, the Wood brothers were sponsored by Citgo. And that has to be low-key one of the longest team-sponsor relationships that had this many drivers. In 87 and 88, it was Kyle Petty. 89 and 90, it was Neil Bonnet. And then Tommy Ellis drove for him in 89 when Bonnet was injured. Then when Bonnet had the career-ending injuries at Darlington in 90, Dale Jarrett took over. Then he drove for them in 91. Then 92 through 95, it was Shepard. Then 96, 97, 98, it was Michael Waltrip. Then 99 and 2000, it was Elliott Sadler. So it just amazed me. It never dawned on me, again, going through this, that Leonard, being as successful as he is as a car owner and a crew chief and a mechanic and so on and so forth. And I did meet him a few years ago at Indianapolis. I got this card signed. He's a very humble man. Very appreciative of getting him to sign the card for me. But it didn't dawn on me till I started going through those cards. It's like, wow, they all say Citgo. And I'm trying to think of a longer pairing with that many drivers. I mean, sure, you got STP in the 43 car. And you got Goodwrench in the 3/29. And you got even though you could, because they were different teams, the Skull with the 33 when they switched from Mach 1 Racing to Leo Jackson to Andy Petrie Racing, but that was more of a number recognition than a team owner thing. And this is just one of the longest ones, and to have that many drivers, and they had some success. Kyle Petty won a race in 87. Dale Jarrett won a race in 91. Shepard won a race in 93. Michael Waltrip won the All-Star race in 96. So it wasn't like they were riding around at the back of the pack all the time, but it was just an era where the super teams were starting to get born. The Hendricks and the Gibbs and all these other teams were starting to really, really get their footing and make it hard for these single car teams. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Really, really do appreciate it. We'll have something to rip tomorrow. Not sure what we're going to rip just yet, but we'll rip it when we get there. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe button on your way out. That does help the channel grow, and that's what we're looking for. We like nice, steady, organic growth. We don't want to throw a dash of Miracle Grow in and go all sorts of crazy and get roots and leaves and twigs and stuff that we don't need. But anyway, thanks for watching. Really, really do appreciate it. We will see you in the morning.